Eloi, Eloi, שיגה אבל כל תהיה אלוהי אלוהי עשה למען שמך עשה למען ימינך עשה למען קדושתך עשה למען תורתך עשה למען שמך עשה למען ימינך עשה למען קדושתך עשה למען אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע ושפתי ברבים ימה אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע ושפתי מדבר מרמה. Shabbat Shalom. We begin on page 12. Lechuner ananal Adonai nariel etzur yishenu. Come sing to the rock of our salvation. שיר לאדוני, שיר חדש, שיר לאדוני כל הארץ, שיר לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסו מיום ליום, ישועתו, ספרו בגויים, כמותו בכל העמים, נפלותיו. ספרו בגויים Okay, it's a party. Page 14. Rejoice with the Irelands. Zamru, page 16. Zemer is a song of love. Zemer Shalahava. Sing the sound of the beautiful strings. But most importantly, your voice. Page 16. Zamru laduna Bechino Bekol Zimbra Zamru laduna Bechino Zimbra Zamru Adonai Bechino Bechino Zimbra Zamru Adonai Bechino Zamru Adonai Romemu. Bottom of 17. Repeat that word after me. Romemu. Try it again. Romemu. It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? It means praise, sing. So sing with me. That word. Romemu. Try it. Romemu. Romemu, 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 Adonai, Eloheinu. Romemu, 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 Adonai, Eloheinu. V'kishta Everyone sing! Romemu, 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 Adonai, Eloheinu. Romemu, 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 Adonai, Eloheinu. Last time. Romemu, 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 Adonai, Eloheinu. Romemu, 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 Adonai, Eloheinu. 18. It's a good number for the Jews. It means life. Page 18. That's the creation of life. Through God's voice, we create with our voices. It's a concept, a Kabbalistic concept. We create with words, with letters, with sounds. The voice of God. Mizmoshi. Ledavi Havul Adonai Benegeri Havul Adonai Kavod Vahos Havul Adonai che voce mo ishtachavu l'Adonai bechadrat kodesh kol Adonai kol Adonai kol Adonai kol. Try with me. Kol Adonai. One word. Kol Adonai. Make it two. Kol Adonai. Kol Adonai Alamai. El Akavodim. Adonai Almayim Rabim. Almayim Rabim. Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol בסריון כמו בנרמים, כל אדוני חוצב להבות אש, כל אדוני יכיר מדבר, כל אדוני, 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 יכיר אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני חולל עיינות, ויחצוב ירוק, ובכלו כולו וארכבות. Everyone, כל אדוני, כל אדוני, כל אדוני, כל אדוני, כל אדוני, כל אדוני, כל וישב אדוני מלך לעולם, אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו ושלום. כל אדוני, כל אדוני, voice of God, כל אדוני, כל אדוני, כל אדוני, כל אדוני, לקראת כלה פני שבת, שבת נקבלה. שמור, שמור וזכור בדיבורך ישמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת וריתינה לך. I love it when you sing. Likrat. Likrat. Ka. Sounds good. Pnei Shabbat, Shabbat nekabela. Number 2, Likrat. Likrat Shabbat, lechu v'nelcha ki mekor, aberaka merosh mikedem, nesucha sof. מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך. I want to hear you sing. לקרא. So much better. Number 3. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה ומצאי מתוך ההפכה רב השבט בעמק הפחד והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה לך וחרורי לקראת כלה בני ישב הבת שבה לקפלה התנערי ויפרקו מלבשי בגדי תפארתך בי על יד בן ישי ותלכי קורבה אלה שהגיעה לך וחרורי לקראת כלה בני ישב הבת שמה לקבלה התעוררי כי מאורך קומי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך וחרורי לקראת כלה בני שמה לקבלה תשתוכחי ומה תמי ותייחסו עניי עמי ונבנתה עיר אל תיללה וחרורי לקראת כלה בפני שבת קבלה 7 והיו למשיסה שוסייך ורחקו כל מבלייך יסיס עלייך אלוהייך כמסוס חתן על כלה כמה לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה ימין ושמאל תפרוצי בחרוני תעריצי על יריש ונפרתי ונשמחה ונגילה לך טוב לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמונה המסגולה בואי חלה בואי So good to have you all here. Shabbat Shalom. Oh, I love it. Say hello to one another, Shabbat Shalom, greet one another. It's beautiful to see bodies and seats, to see so many people coming. It's really the meaning of Shabbat. We receive Shabbat together. And if you're there online, think about it. Maybe you'll come join us someday. If you're out there listening, we have a nice warm sanctuary here full of people eager to meet you. So we welcome Shabbat together on page 22. Yismor Shil Yom HaShabbat, such a beautiful day. We wrote a song all about it, dedicated to Shabbat. It's good to give thanks. Thanksgiving. That's right, Hodu, which means thanks. It also means turkey, Hodu. Page 22, Tov Lehodot. It's good to eat turkey and give thanks. Mismor Shil, or tofurkey, Leyom HaShabbat. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. Let's hear you sing it now. טוב, טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. עלה עשור ולנבל, עלה היגיון וכינון, כי שימתני אדוני בפועלך במעשה ידיך. הרנן, הרנן. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. מה גדלו מעשיך מאוד עמקו, how great. מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. Deep breath again. מה גדלו, how great. מה גדלו מעשיך מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. צדיק אתה יפרח, כרז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. עוד ירובון ושיבה, לשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי אשר אדוני צורי, צורי ולא
Shabbat Shalom. I've been reflecting about the American and Israeli elections of the past 2 weeks. Whenever I speak about political developments, it's important for me to emphasize that while, like you, I have partisan opinions, I do not share them publicly because that's not my role. I'm not a politician, and this pulpit is not a platform for partisan political pursuits. Such pursuits are appropriate, you should do them, but not me and not here. I'm a religious leader seeking to make sense and to share with you my understanding of what God demands of us. What are our moral obligations to each other and to society? That said, I have never shied away from engaging the political process because politics is how we determine policies, and policies reflect collective moral values. And collective morality is absolutely the business of religion. What kind of religion could maintain credibility, lamenting the sufferings of the persecuted, but not caring about the policies that lead to suffering or the measures that can alleviate suffering? What kind of religion offers beds to the homeless, but is unconcerned about the policies that cause or exacerbate homelessness? When it comes to politics, I view my role as holding politicians morally accountable for the support and promotion of rhetoric and policies that impact upon millions of people. And I am an equal opportunity critic. I have decried Trumpism, not because it's associated with part of the Republican Party, but because I view the nastiness, the lies, the arrogance, the indecency, the culture of perpetual grievance, the cruelty, the insults, the hints and winks of violence, encouraging violence and conspiracy. I view these things to be contrary to Jewish values and to the best interests of American society and the Jewish community. I have decried the anti-Zionism, the whitewashing of terrorism, the animosity towards Israel that is increasingly popular in the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, not because progressives are Democrats, but because I believe such views are contrary to Jewish values and to the best interests of American society and the Jewish community. And I have repeatedly spoken of and warned about the intensifying Jew hatred spreading across the country from both the right and the left, in the most conservative environments and the most progressive establishments. If I look back at the last decade, my two central concerns about politics have been the integrity of the political system itself and the slouching towards extremism that has intensified both here and throughout the Western world, spanning all parts of the political spectrum. And let me address these 2 points. First, the integrity of the democratic system. The most humbling thing about democracy is losing. If we take politics seriously, if we view public policy and public service as important, even noble endeavors, when we lose, it is not akin to losing a tennis match or a chess tournament. Often we feel as if our future, our very way of life is at risk. Our predominant feelings are disappointment, disillusionment, despair, and even dread. But losing is inherent in and necessary to democracy. 2 weeks after VE Day, Victory in Europe Day, 10 weeks after Victory in Europe Day, Winston Churchill interrupted his participation in the Potsdam Conference to return to London for the announcement of the election results. Most people assumed that Churchill would prevail. He stood practically alone against Hitler. He won the war, the Lion of Britain. Churchill wrote, "Just before dawn, I woke suddenly with a sharp stab of almost physical pain. By noon, it was clear we had lost the elections." Churchill's wife, Clementine, said to him, "It may well be a blessing in disguise." Winston replied, "At this moment, it seems quite effectively disguised." One of the disguised blessings of losing a fair and free election is that it forces us to reassess, reevaluate, recommit, and recharge. Why did the people favor my opponent? Why did they reject my character and worldview? And one presumes that this searing internal reassessment and reevaluation might have contributed to Churchill's re-election 6 years after defeat. Losing is also part of democracy. Knowing how to lose, recognizing that a healthy system will also result in my defeat, is at the heart of a free society. If we do not lose, we get one-party rule, which breeds an insufferable arrogance of power that will eventually corrode democratic institutions. Healthy institutions and healthy societies need intellectual and political pluralism. We need to open the window on our own convictions and let in the refreshing breezes of challenge and debate. It's one of the great urgencies of our times. We have become tribalized and siloized, interested in and exposed to only our own kind. And since the peaceful transfer of power, the very lifeblood of democracy, depends upon acknowledging and accepting defeat, those who refuse to lose, who accept the results only if they win, and if they lose, it is ipso facto evidence of fraud and rigged elections, such people are exceedingly dangerous to our way of life. And from that perspective, I breathed a small sigh of relief at the verdict of the American people. All too many election deniers were elected and re-elected. But it was reassuring to me that in the key battleground states, no candidate who supported the big lie won. And claims of election fraud from those who lost races were blessedly minimal, which tells you something about how much they believed in the big lie in the first place. I say this not as a political partisan. In fact, I hope that one day, when the history of our times is written, the likes of Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, and a relative handful of their Republican colleagues will be hailed as American heroes, prophets of rebuke and messengers of redemption, who, like the prophets of old, were prepared to pay the heavy price of rejection and scorn for speaking truth. 2, slouching towards extremism. Israel didn't have a problem of election denial. The elections were conducted in accordance with the highest democratic standards. Over 70% of eligible Israelis voted for the 5th time in 3 years. No one challenged the results. The losers readily conceded once the votes were in. There were no charges of cheating or fraud. There is no doubt that there will be a peaceful transfer of power. In many ways, the Israeli elections reflected the strength and vibrancy of Israeli democracy. And yet, democracy is not only the free and fair empowerment of the majority. It is also the protection of the minorities and the preservation of the rule of law. History is replete with democratically elected governments that turned from democracy. And while it is true that the popular vote was split 50-50, almost to the last voter, between the parties of the outgoing government and what looks like the parties in the incoming government, nonetheless, due to some complicated features of Israel's parliamentary system, in Israeli terms, the incoming coalition scored a decisive victory. And the results should be deeply concerning to all of us who love Israel and care about the well-being of the Jewish people. The next government will likely include ultra-nationalists, ultra-Orthodox, and ultra-opponents of Reform and conservative Jews, the LGBT community, and Israeli Arabs and Palestinians. These members of Knesset have an extreme and even messianic view of Judaism. One party's faction includes admirers and disciples of Meir Kahane, whose extremism led Israeli courts to ban him from sitting in the Knesset, and the United States listed Kahane's party as a terrorist group. I understand why these forces gained strength in the elections. Like in America, some grievances are real. As crime is a real and legitimate concern in American politics, if people do not feel safe, this sense of insecurity will show up in election results. So in Israel, security is always a central concern. And in the weeks leading up to the elections, there were many savage terrorist attacks on Israeli civilians, Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Since the beginning of 2022, there have been over 2,200 terrorist-related incidents claiming the lives of 26 Israelis. And Israelis are still traumatized by the eruption of violence between Jewish and Muslim citizens in towns and neighborhoods during the 2021 war with Hamas. That, more than any other factor, explains the rise of the ultranationalist parties. Just this week, there was a horrific and gruesome murder spree that killed 3 fathers of 11 children and wounded 3 others. But while I understand why these unsavory actors were strengthened, it is not good news for Israel or for world Jewry. They seek to change the very character of the country. They want a state governed by Jewish law, as interpreted exclusively by them. They promise legislation to weaken Israel's highly regarded and internationally recognized judicial system, democracy's central check on parliamentary power. Many of these members of Knesset are arrogant, uncivil, and use the most pernicious, ugly language to describe those with whom they disagree, both Jewish and non-Jewish. They represent a kind of Judaism that is out of the mainstream. The sages believed in moderation. They knew all about our propensity towards extremism and warned against it. Talmudic rabbis blamed the destruction of the kingdom and the exile of the Jews that didn't end until last century. They blamed the destruction of the kingdom not on the Romans who destroyed the kingdom, but on what they called sinat chinam, baseless hatred among Jews, extreme polarization, and internal enmity. Maimonides taught, pursue the middle path, Shvil Zahav, the golden mean, the way of moderation. We are commanded to walk in the middle ways, Maimonides wrote, which are the good and right ways. This is called the way of God. I want to be on the record and to convey in the strongest possible way I know how that the empowerment in key positions of these radical forces in the Israeli government has the potential not only to rip Israeli society apart, which is a matter for Israelis first and foremost, but will also cause untold harm to Israel's reputation, interests, and standing abroad. It will further corrode the relationship between Israel and world Jewry. What we are contending with now in terms of young Jews turning away from Israel will be nothing in comparison to what we will see in the years ahead if they're not restrained. Because here's the thing about extremism. It ultimately destroys that which it seeks to uphold. Victor Hugo wrote, to be ultra is to go beyond. It is to attack the scepter in the name of the throne. It is to maltreat the thing you support. It is to be dissatisfied with snow, with the swan, with the lily in the name of whiteness. It is to be the partisan of things to the point of becoming their enemy. It is to be so very pro that you are con. Let no one be confused or sanguine. In the end, the support that Israel receives in this country and throughout the West is based on shared democratic values. National interests play a role, of course, but fundamentally, it is about our common commitment to liberty, freedom, social justice, civil society, intellectual and political pluralism, and tolerance of minorities that seals Israel's high standing in the West. There can be no startup nation if the nation does not stand up for toleration and moderation. And preempting the angry letters and admonishment that I'm sure to receive and from some parts of the Jewish community, that happens all the time. I want to emphasize my bona fides on Israel. They are impeccable. Unlike most Orthodox Jews, I am a Zionist and devote my energies to the well-being of the Jewish people and its central accomplishment in our age, the state of Israel. I've met incoming Prime Minister Netanyahu many times, usually around some crisis that ultra-Orthodox parties fomented to amend conversion laws and other laws affecting world Jewry, 90% of whom are not Orthodox. These encounters go back 25 years. When I first met Netanyahu on his first term in office in the late 90s. Looking back at these years, he has managed to hold off the most extreme forces of his coalition and minimized the damage they sought to do between Israel and world Jewry. He always took care to prevent a complete rupture with world Jewry. He was always open to meeting with delegations that I led and other leaders of the American Jewish community. At least he tried to say the right things. At least he paid lip service saying the right things. And Netanyahu successfully prevented the most radical proposals. And our reform movement in Israel continues to grow and even receives some government funding now. Those of you who are traveling with us next month to Israel, you will see our synagogues firsthand and meet some of our rabbis and lay leaders. For all of our sakes, I hope that Netanyahu will hold the line against the waves of troubling initiatives coming our ways in the years to come. And who knows, Perhaps he will persuade more moderate parties to enter his government now or at some point in the months to come. In any case, we on this side of the ocean will be watching and monitoring and doing our best to prevent the worst. And this leads me to my final message. In so many ways, America is a miracle. She's worth fighting for. In so many different ways, Israel is a miracle. She is worth fighting for. America is filled with good, decent people on both sides of the political spectrum. Israel is filled with good, decent people on both sides of the political spectrum. We need to make common cause with each other. We need to try. We are more united on more issues than we are led to believe. The last decade has taught us that even the strongest and most developed countries, like America, require constant attention to its democratic fiber. Democracy is always fragile and in constant need of cultivation and strengthening, even in America. Israeli democracy is robust, a truly remarkable achievement given that most of its citizens came from non-democratic countries. But like every other democracy, it too is in constant need of attention and cultivation, and it is constantly, potentially fragile. We will never abandon Israel. We will continue to do our part to invest in those who reflect the best of Jewish values. The majority of Israelis who are tolerant, moderate, rodfei shalom, pursuers of peace, ohavei Yisrael, lovers of fellow Jews, and ohavei abriot, lovers of all mankind. We turn to page 146 for the Baruch Hu, and we rise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו למדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד לעולם ועד. אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו למדת, אהי על כן אדוני, אלוהינו בשוכבנו, ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו, ובהם נגד יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת פעם, ושבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. אמת ומונה כל זאת, וקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו. אמת ומונה כל זאת, וקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו. ואין זולתו ואין זולתו, אנחנו ישראל עמו, אפותינו ביד מלכים הגואלנו מכף כל העריצים. אמת ומונה כל זאת, וקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו. אמת ומונה כל זאת, וקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו. ואין זולתו ואין זולתו, אנחנו ישראל עמו, אבותינו ביד מלכים הגואלנו מכף כל העריצים. אמת ואמונה כל זאת, ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל, לכנו שירה בשמחה ויאמרו כולם.
152.
מי כמוך בארי אדוני מי כמוך נדם הקודש מי כמוך בארי אדוני מי כמוך נדם הקודש נולדנו תהילות אוסף אלה נורת תהילות אוסף אלה נורת תהילות אוסף אלה מלכות קרבו בניך בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים מלכות קרבו בניך בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים זרי הנו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד זרי ענו ועמלו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד
Everybody.
ונאמר כפר אדוני יעקב וגאלום ירחזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני קהל ישראל השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים
Join me, everyone.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים ושמור צאתנו ושמור צאתנו ולואנו מעתה ועד עולם השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום
Page 154.
ושמרו בני ישראל את לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש שבת ויהי נפש שבת ויהי נפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Page 155.
אדוני שפתי תפתח אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך ופי יגיד תהילתך אדוני שפתי תפתח אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך ופי יגיד ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסרי אהבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לפני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים צומק נופלים ורופא חורים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו אישי עפה מי כמוך ומי דומך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל אתה קדוש ששבים שמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יעללו חסדה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש
We now offer a prayer for healing. Mishaberach avotenu ve'imotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech et HaCholim Mindy Belkin Arthur Bloomfield Chana Leah Eliana Bat Chava Drezel v'Yonatan Shmuel Ben Devora Seth Corwin Rhoda Finkelstein Mark Galen Edward Merdinger David Albert Pierce Stephen Rosen Gil Turner Michael Wolf Boris Zindels. And if there are people for whom you are praying for healing and you'd like to share their names out loud or in your hearts or on the chat, please do so now. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. And let us say, Amen. We continue with the Aleinu on page 282, and we rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וקור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר ארץ, ומושב עיקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. או אלוהינו, רם את מלכנו, אפס זולתו ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום וישב אותה לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחתנו ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed from this earth. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We extend our sympathies to those who have lost loved ones in recent weeks, Paul Osofsky. And we remember the following yard sites of years past: Carl Aronson, Shirley Banker, Richard Beer, Martin Buchalter, Molly Burrows, Samuel Cohen, Judy Corman, Phyllis Daly, Benjamin Bo Devon, Harry Epner, Sigmund Fox, David Gilbert, Jack Goldberg, Robert Goodman, Berta Bailey Haberman, Lori Harris, David Hoffman, Betty Horowitz, Regina J., Charles Carr, Elton Katz, Milton Klein, Jonathan Lee, John Lerner, Ellsworth Levine, Lillian Lynn, Harry Mervish, Jason Radin, Irving Reef, Annette Rieger, Florence Roskin, Arthur Rotenberg, Mitchell Schulman, Harold J. Silberman, Harold Sobel, Betty Temkin Wall, Milton Wash, Sidney J. Zeitz, Eli Zwerdling. And if there are people for whom you are saying Kaddish and you'd like to share their names out loud or in your hearts or on the chat, please do so now. We rise as one community as we are able for the mourners Kaddish, and we turn to page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayeh dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei
Shmei Rabbah mevarach hamolomei almaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen.
Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom.
close our service with words of blessing. Yevarechacha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and may God protect you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's face shine upon you and may God be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May you feel God's presence with you always, and may God give you peace.
Can you hear our song? Haba Nashira, let's sing. Haba, Haba Nashira, Shir Alleluia, Shir Alleluia. Haba, Haba Nashira, Shir Alleluia, Shir Alleluia. Yom Aleinu, Yom Shalom Aleinu, Yom Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Yom Shalom Aleinu, Yom Shalom Aleinu, Yom Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, Shalom, Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, Shalom. Hava, Hava Nashira, Shir Alleluia, Shir Alleluia. Hava, Hava Nashira, Shir Alleluia, Shir Alleluia. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, Shalom, Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, Shalom.
Please join us downstairs for Kiddush. Shabbat Shalom.
Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving will be a living sanctuary for you. Oh, Ziva Zimratya, Baili Lishua. Oh, Ziva Zimratya, Baili Lishua. Ojavu Shalom Aleinu, Ojavu Shalom Aleinu, Ojavu Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Ojavu Shalom Aleinu, Ojavu Shalom Aleinu, Ojavu Shalom Aleinu ve'al